You trust your neighbors, you pass them on the street, you greet them every day. But what if one of them wasn't human? In some Filipino villages, expectant mothers still sleep with salt by their bedside, not for seasoning, for survival. Because if an aswang is near, one mistake could cost you your life. Some monsters don't hide in the dark, they walk among us. Today we will explore 3 horrifying tales from Filipino folklore. But first we need a little context. For centuries, whispers of the aswang have crept through the homes and alleyways of the Philippines, passed from generation to generation like a warning carried on the wind. Spanish colonists in the 16th century were among the first outsiders to document these chilling tales, noting that nothing struck more fear into the hearts of the people than the aswang. But what exactly is an aswang? That's where things get even more terrifying. Unlike the singular monsters of Western folklore, the aswang is a shifting nightmare, vampire, ghoul, witch and beast all in one. By day it walks among us, blending into the fabric of everyday life. By night it becomes something else, a silent predator slipping through the darkness, its hunger leading it to the unsuspecting and the vulnerable. One of its most feared forms is the Manananggal, a creature found in the Visayan region, especially in provinces like Capiz, Iloilo, Bohol and Antique. By night it splits itself in two, its upper body severing from its lower half as massive bat-like wings tear through its back. It takes to the skies, hunting with a long, hollow tongue, slithering through thatched roofs to steal the lifeblood of the unborn and the sleeping. Its presence is marked by a chilling sound, a faint tick-tick, tick-tick in the distance. But don't be fooled. The softer it sounds, the closer it is. Some say the Manananggal reeks of vinegar, a result of soaking its organs in the acidic liquid to shrink them for reattachment at dawn. Others claim the only way to kill it is to find its severed lower half and cover it in salt, garlic or ash, preventing it from ever becoming whole again. Legends tell us the aswang walks among us. The only question is, would you recognize one if you saw it? But legends are best understood through the stories passed down across generations. In order to truly grasp the terror these creatures inspire, let's step into the shadows and hear 3 chilling tales, each revealing the horror and mystery of the aswang and the Manananggal. Our first story takes us to the island of Panay in western Visayas. In the heart of Capiz, where the air grows thick with whispers after sundown, a village lived in quiet fear. By day, the townsfolk bustled about their lives, exchanging pleasantries and working under the tropical sun. But at night, something changed. It began when some mourners noticed that some tombs had been disturbed in the village cemetery. Graves that had been sealed were now open, the wooden coffins within pried apart. The bodies inside, loved ones who had been laid to rest with care, were now defiled, their flesh gnawed away as if something had feasted upon them. The villagers spoke in hushed voices of an aswang, one that walked among them, wearing the skin of a neighbor hiding in plain sight. All eyes turned to an old woman named Aling Diwata. She had arrived in the village only months ago, a quiet and distant figure who kept to herself. She lived alone, her home sitting at the very edge of the village, where the trees whispered secrets in the wind. No one ever saw her at church, nor did she partake in the town's gatherings. Yet at night shadows shifted beneath her windows, and strange noises like the cracking of bones and the slithering of flesh echoed from within her palm-thatched house. One evening, a young man named Miguel, braver than most, decided to keep watch. He hid near her home, his heart pounding against his ribs as the moon hung high. Hours passed in silence, until just past midnight he heard it, the unmistakable sound of shifting bones, of flesh stretching and tearing. Cautiously he peeked through the gaps in the bamboo walls and saw what would haunt him forever. Aling Diwata was no longer an old woman. Her skin rippled like water, her limbs elongating unnaturally, fingers curling into talons. Her mouth widened, stretching beyond human limits, revealing a row of jagged, glistening teeth. And her eyes, empty pits, glowed with a hunger not meant for this world. Then slowly her head began to turn toward Miguel's hiding place, as if she already knew he was there. The creature shuddered, sniffing the air like a beast scenting prey. Miguel stumbled back, snapping a twig beneath his feet. For a heartbeat he froze, unable to move as the creature inhaled deeply, preparing to lunge toward him. her fierce eyes glowing in the darkness. He ran. The next morning, the community awoke to Miguel's frantic and terrified shouts of alarm. He spoke of what he had seen, and the people, armed with torches and bolo blades, marched to Aling Diwata's hut. What they found there was shocking. Deep claw marks scarred the wooden walls. Remnants of dried skin and small scraps of stained burial garments littered the floor. All that remained of Diwata, however, was a trail of dried slime leading into the dense forest, which turned into the footprints of a woman and disappeared in the undergrowth. Some say she fled forever. Others believe she still lurks in the shadows, waiting for another village foolish enough to welcome her in. But some creatures aren't always discovered hiding in the shadows. Some are never found until it's too late. Our next story brings us to the terrifying experiences of a young mother and her husband. They are about to learn why lessons from our elders should never be taken lightly. Deep in the Visayas, where the forests grow thick and the wind carries the scent of the sea, a woman named Amara lay restless in her bed. She was 8 months with child, her belly heavy with life, yet sleep eluded her. Her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. "Keep the windows shut at night. The Manananggal is always searching." The stories had haunted her since childhood, tales of the monstrous creature that severed itself at the waist, its upper body sprouting leathery wings as it hunted for the unborn. It was said that the Manananggal's long, thin tongue could slither through gaps in the roof, reaching down to steal the lifeblood of an innocent child before it could take its first breath. One night, the air felt wrong. The dogs in the village whimpered, hiding beneath houses. Even the insects had fallen silent. Then she heard it. A soft, distant tick-tick, tick-tick, tick-tick. It was faint, almost deceptive. Her grandmother's warning echoed in her mind. The elders always said, "The quieter it sounds, the closer it is." Fear seized Amara's heart. She clutched her belly and reached for the bowl of salt her mother had left by the door. Her husband Thomas sat beside her, gripping a long bamboo spear, its tip coated with ash. The tick-tick grew fainter. Then a shadow passed over the moon. From the thatched roof came the sound of claws, clutching at the dried palm leaves. A soft hiss filled the air, and then a whisper, so close, so sweet. Thomas leapt to his feet, slamming the spear through the thatch of the roof. The shadow above shrieked. Amara wasted no time. She grabbed a handful of salt and flung it upward, hearing the hiss turn into a piercing wail. They waited in trembling silence for the first rays of dawn to stretch across the sky. At daybreak, Thomas hurried to the village captain to organize the men for a search party. They combed the jungle all day, but there was no sign of the creature. That night was long for the villagers, each one listening intently for any sound in the darkness, dreading the return of the monster. On the second day, seemingly searching in vain, they nearly gave up. The jungle was silent, too silent. No birds, no wind, as if even nature feared what lurked within. Even the leaves, usually swaying with the breeze, stood eerily still as if holding their breath. Then the search party pressed deeper into the forest. Finally, near the cliffs, they found something half buried in the sand, a lower torso, dried and shriveled, its severed flesh streaked with ash. Without hesitation, the men covered it in salt, more ash, and buried it deep, ensuring it could never rise again. Near Amara's village, somewhere in the jungle, a monster had died with the rising sun. But for expectant mothers all over the Visayas, the vigil never ends. As for Amara, she would never leave her shutters open again. That following night, in a distant village, a young expectant mother stirred awake. Intently she listened to the night air, her heart pounding. She turned to her husband and whispered, "Did you hear that? Tick, 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 tick." For our third and final tale, we will visit a remote island, where a small village sat nestled between the thick jungle and the restless sea. There, a prominent man will have to face the biggest dilemma of his life. But before we get started, if you're enjoying this video, please consider giving it a like. It's the best way you can help us grow our audience and bring you more engaging content. We sincerely thank you for your support. Moving on. By day, our village was a peaceful place where laughter echoed through the alleyways and the savory scent of sinigang and roasting fish traveled on the breeze. But by night, the villagers locked their doors, lit candles, and whispered prayers, hoping to keep the darkness at bay. A terrible thing had happened. A young wife had been found near the outskirts, pale and delirious, her belly flat though she had been with child the night before. The elders whispered of the Manananggal, the creature that severed itself at the waist and took to the skies, searching for the unborn to feast upon. Fear spread like wildfire, and soon blame followed. Suspicion fell upon Lila, the beautiful young widow who lived alone at the edge of the village. She had always been an outsider. Though she was kind, though she never wronged anyone, there was something about her solitude that unsettled the villagers. A woman living alone, it wasn't natural. And now, with a monster lurking in the night, the villagers thought they had found their culprit. Soon, a mob gathered, torches blazing against the darkness. The village chief stood at the front, his face shadowed with grim determination. He should have felt certain. He should have been ready to end the threat. But as he stood before Lila's trembling form, something gnawed at the edges of his mind. His wife was missing. And then he remembered. His mother-in-law's frail hands clutching his arm on her deathbed. The tremor in her voice as she whispered of a family curse that skipped generations, that she had spent years fearing that her own daughter, his beloved wife, may be doomed to become the very thing that now plagued their village. "Watch her," she had warned. "If she disappears by night and returns before dawn, you must be ready." His blood ran cold. A scream shattered the night. The torches flickered as a figure loomed above them, wings outstretched against the moonlit sky. A terrible tick-tick, tick-tick echoed through the village. An acrid stench of vinegar filled the air. The Manananggal had come. The chief turned just in time to see the monster descend, its long jagged tongue curling in the air. The villagers scattered, their weapons raised, but as the creature's glowing eyes met his, the chief's breath caught in his throat. He knew it was her, his wife. The chief stood frozen as chaos erupted around him. Villagers screamed, some throwing spears, others fleeing in terror. The Manananggal let out an inhuman wail, swooping low, talons outstretched. But it did not strike. Hovering, entrails hanging like gruesome ropes, it watched him. A flicker of recognition crossed its monstrous face, a trace of recognition, a whisper of the woman he had loved. Tears stung his eyes, but he gripped his bolo knife. His mother-in-law's words rang in his ears. "You must end it before dawn." His hands trembled, his heart warred against his duty. She turned as if to flee, wings stretching, muscles tensing to take flight. If she escaped now, she would return. She would kill again. With a broken cry, the chief lunged. The night was filled with screams. As the chief battled the winged horror, the villagers, desperate for a way to end the nightmare, searched frantically. It was then that someone cried out. Behind the very house where the chief and his wife were living, nestled in the roots of a mango tree, lay a half-buried torso. The truth had been right under their noses all along. With torches, salt and garlic, they set to work. The severed flesh writhed as flames consumed it, a final unearthly shriek tearing through the air. In that instant, the creature above faltered, its body convulsing mid-flight before plummeting to the earth and evaporating into mist. Silence fell, thick and heavy. The Manananggal was no more. When the villagers returned to the street where the chief had last stood, he was nowhere to be found. Some say he fled into the jungle, unable to bear what he had done. Others whisper that in her final moments his wife turned her fangs upon him and that he was consumed before she was finally destroyed. The true answer remains a mystery to this day. The legends of the Aswang and the Manananggal serve as haunting reminders of the rich tapestry of Filipino folklore, reflecting the complexities of human nature and societal fears. These stories, passed down through generations, continue to captivate and terrify, blurring the lines between myth and reality. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and let us know. Consider subscribing for more interesting folklore from across the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the folklore of the Philippines. Until next time.